Welcome to today's GNCC Espresso Live, with this seminar actually being all about energy solutions and programs, specifically how a partnership with Enbridge can benefit your business by saving energy and reducing costs. My name is Miška Balcan, and I'm really glad that you're able to join us for the next hour. Over the past many years, actually, we have had and developed a heightened awareness that we only have one planet and that all of us are responsible for its future. For Enbridge, the safety of people and the protection of the environment are their top priority. And that mirrors the goals of many businesses right here in Niagara who are partnering with Enbridge in looking at reaching this common goal. But to do so and to know how to best move forward, we really do require information. It's critical for all the decisions that each one of us makes, that each one of our members makes, and businesses across Niagara. So for that purpose, we are joined today by Biké Balkanci, the Director of GTA West and Niagara Operations at Enbridge Gas, by Werenich, who is the Operations Manager with Enbridge, and Mary Tsai, who's the Commercial New Construction Program Manager, Savings by Design, presenting from Enbridge. So thank you very much, actually, for all of you to be with us. And we also have a special guest who's actually joining our panel today, and that is Graham Guest, who is Walker Industries General Manager for Energy and Technical Services and the Environmental Division. And Graham is going to come into the dialogue when we're actually going to have our Q&A session. Many of you who are with us today have provided us with some questions in advance, and we're very much committed to getting to them. But just to go over today's format, we're going to start out with a presentation, and then moving forward from here, we will have probably the last 20 minutes for all of the questions that you have. There's two options for you to submit questions. Maybe you have them during the presentation or right immediately afterwards. One of them is the chat function, which is available to you at the bottom of the screen, or you can also ask a live question, and if you're just asking to be unmuted, we will actually bring you into the call as well. So on that note, it is my great pleasure to actually pass this webinar over to Biké. Biké, over to you.
That's great. Thank you very much, Miška, for the introductions. As Miška mentioned, my name is Biké Balkanci. I'm the Director of Operations at Enbridge Gas for the GTA West and Niagara region. And with me, I have Ryan Werenich, our Manager of Operations, Mary Tsai, who's our Energy Solutions Advisor, Keir Johnston, our Senior Advisor of Municipal Affairs for Enbridge. And I'm also very happy that we have a special guest with us here today, Graham Guest with Walker Industries. It would have been almost a year ago now, Graham and I would have attended our Renewable Natural Gas Facility Partnership and groundbreaking events here in Niagara Falls. And we're all very excited and we welcome the opportunity today to connect with our area's business leaders. So today we're here for a number of reasons. First off, we would like to give you an overview of what Enbridge is and what we stand for, outline what we're doing to help Niagara and communities across Ontario reach economic development and environmental goals, talk a little bit about how we can help your business save energy and reduce costs, and then finally engage in some dialogue at the end through our Q&A section of the panel. So I'm now going to hand it over to Ryan to give you a quick overview of Enbridge Gas.
Thanks, Biké. And as Biké suggested, I think we'll start this morning with a bit of a background on Enbridge as a whole before we get into some of the details about how Enbridge operates and what we have to offer specifically in the Niagara area. And so what I'd like to do is talk about Enbridge as a broader company. And I'm going to go a little bit out of order on this slide and focus in first on the natural gas utilities part of the broader Enbridge family. And that's the group that we're representing here today. So Enbridge is now an amalgamated utility with Union Gas. We're supplying natural gas to 3.8 million customers throughout Ontario, serving 670 communities. And that translates into supplying energy needs to approximately 75% of Ontario residents, which is pretty incredible. So taking a step back from the natural gas utility within Ontario, there's several other business units that make up the broader Enbridge family. On the far left of the screen here, you can see our liquids or our crude oil transmission pipelines. In total, across North America, we operate just over 27,000 kilometers of pipeline. And again, to put things a little bit into perspective, we're providing transportation of that of crude oil throughout North America that accounts for approximately 25% of all crude oil that's produced within North America. On the natural gas transmission side, so the second circle there, we have approximately 38,000 kilometers of pipeline, primarily in the US. And again, to put that into perspective, approximately 20% of all natural gas consumed in the US is shipped through our natural gas transmission pipelines. And lastly, on the far right, we have our renewable power group. Enbridge started investing in renewable power in 2002. And since that time has made some substantial investments throughout North America and Europe, now to the point of generating over 2,000 megawatts of electrical power. And that power is being generated from a number of means, including wind turbines. Sorry, just one second here. Yeah, wind turbines, solar energy operations, waste heat recovery facilities, geothermal projects, and also hydroelectric facilities. Next slide, please. Within our industry, I mean, we're dealing with dangerous products, and certainly safety has to be our #1 priority. Our social license to operate as a utility and as a company throughout North America and the world really depends on us being able to do that safely, without a doubt. And I think in the span of my 20-year career within Enbridge, I've seen the company make some very substantial improvements in safety, both in employee safety, in public safety, and also the safety of our assets. And that's some of the things that we're highlighting here on this particular slide. Substantial investment goes into maintaining our assets and inspecting our assets to make sure that they are in good working order, and where they aren't, obviously making those investments that are required to either repair or replace. And that's our integrity management program. There's also substantial effort that goes into practicing for emergencies. So although we hope that we never have to deal with emergencies, the reality in the industry is that those will occur on occasion, and we need to be ready when they occur. And so you can see there as well that we have a number of emergency exercises and drills that we conduct every year to make sure that when there is that particular event, that we do have the people and the capacity and capability to deal with those situations and make sure that we are keeping both our employees and the public where we operate safe. So to put that in a perspective specifically for the Niagara area, we're investing in maintaining approximately 4,500 kilometers of pipeline and servicing approximately 185,000 customers in that Niagara area. Next slide, please. That brings us to a little bit more specific Niagara area information. And what we'd like to touch on here is the natural gas expansion program, which was phase 2 announced by the Ontario government just this previous summer. And the government announced investment in a number of different projects, notably for this group, the Grimsby-Lincoln Regional Expansion Project, which the government committed $4.3 million in funding towards. And our hopes with this particular project is that we're able to supply natural gas to a number of high volume customers that previously would not have access to that type of energy source. And it's a really good opportunity, I think, to expand the economic development within the area, and also provide some good opportunities for cost savings for many of the businesses that can switch to this particular energy source. The original project was initiated, and there was an expression of interest that was issued for companies that could describe their interest in switching to natural gas. That particular expression of interest helped us to develop the scope of the project. But the point I'd like to make as well is that we are still open to having discussions with any other companies and potential users in the area, that would be interested in switching to natural gas or developing a use for the product. So I would put that out there, that if there is an interest, please by all means reach out to us. We can put you in contact with the project team, and we can see if the scope of the project will be able to include that particular interest. So with that, I'll pass it back to Biké to talk a little bit about how we're preparing for our energy future.
Great. Thank you, Ryan. So before we start talking about Enbridge's goals and what we're doing on the energy transition front, I want to touch on the future of energy, what that means, and where natural gas sits within currently and in the future. So to Enbridge, the energy future is more important than ever, and we know that it needs to be efficient and more stable as well. We're partnering and we're investing to provide cleaner energy sources. We're building and we're maintaining a modern infrastructure network, and this, we believe, is what will plan for the energy and environmental needs of future generations. If we were to look at things globally, we know that within the next 20 years, population is expected to grow from 7.7 billion today to more than 9 billion. And with that, we're looking at energy demand to increase by 25%. And continued economic development depends on how we have access to more affordable and more reliable and clean energy. If we were to bring it closer to home and look at Ontario, Ontario's population is projected to increase by over 30%, or almost 4.6 million by 2046. So the important discussion now is how to meet the need for energy that will support this growth in the most sustainable way possible. And we know the discussion is happening everywhere, in businesses and boardrooms and council chambers, at home, including in the region here in Niagara region, where the region has established climate change goals. And we're committed to working with the region and helping it achieve its goals, keeping in mind that we at Enbridge are in fact working towards very similar goals. So on the next slide here, before we talk about what those goals are, I want to touch on Ontario's energy landscape currently and the role of natural gas. So natural gas provides a low-cost, critical, and reliable energy source. Critical in the way that it makes up 75% of Ontario homes rely on natural gas for home heating and hot water heat. And natural gas services more than twice the energy needs of Ontario than electricity. On the reliability front, if we look at Ontario peak energy demand, natural gas infrastructure serves more than 3 times the peak electricity demand. And affordability, of course, is very important to customers. Natural gas is roughly half the cost of other energy sources, and that's without taking into account any subsidies. So our position is that to achieve realistic low carbon solutions that are reliable and affordable, the energy systems must work together. And we should be looking at multiple pathways to achieve that goal, and not considering one source of energy as the primary method to get there. We've laid out our sustainability goals over the last year. So if we jump to the next slide. And what I'd like to highlight is that we've been reporting on our environmental social governance performance, or ESG performance, for nearly 2 decades now. And in November last year, we announced a series of goals, including emissions reductions, increased, sorry about that, it sounds like there's some static, increased diversity and inclusion and governance representation. So on the environment front, our goal, and that's what we're focusing on today, our goal is to achieve net zero greenhouse gas emissions by 2050, with an interim target to reduce emissions intensity by 35% by 2030. And I'll talk about how we plan to achieve this in the next slide. And when we talk about a lower carbon future, we approach this through 4 pillars. we say less gas, more gas, green gas, and no gas. And I'll touch on each of these a little bit with this slide, but I know we're going to be diving deep into some of them later on with Mary's section and also when we bring in Graham. Less gas, what we mean by that is getting consumption to lowest possible. How do we reduce emissions by helping our customers use less gas? And energy efficiency programs, demand side management, which refers to all the incentives and programs that we have designed to modify and use consumer demand and provide incentives for efficient use of energy. And we've been doing this for a while now. We've been doing it since 1995. At the same time, when we talk about less gas, we're referring to other technologies like hybrid heating, dual fuel space heating, natural gas heat pumps, and district energy systems. When we say more gas, we're really referring to replacement with gas. So replacing oil, propane with cleaner burning natural gas for home and water heating. And also in the transportation industry, switching heavy duty transportation from diesel to compressed natural gas. We recently announced a partnership between Enbridge and the city of Hamilton, which will fuel 137 compressed natural gas buses at a fast fuel compressor station. And CNG buses produce 20% fewer greenhouse gas emissions than diesel, and they can actually reduce fleet costs by up to 50%. And then the third pillar is green gas, or how do we reduce emissions by using carbon neutral gas? And this is really a very exciting pillar, an exciting area. It refers to blending hydrogen or blending renewable natural gas from organic waste into our distribution system. On the hydrogen front, we see hydrogen as a longer-term solution. We produce green hydrogen in our Markham facility, and we're blending that hydrogen into a portion of our distribution network in the city. And it's really a first project of its kind in North America, and it results in a greener gas mixture with fewer carbon emissions. And then closer to home here in Niagara, again, I mentioned last year we announced a partnership with Walker and Comcore Technologies in Niagara Falls to build an RNG plant, which is expected to generate enough energy to heat over 8,700 homes and reduce emissions by 48,000 tons per year. And I know we'll be talking about that a little bit more with Graham here. And then finally, no gas. With that, we're referring to solutions other than gas. So geothermal, renewable energy. Ryan touched on it earlier on as well. Since 2002, Enbridge has been investing in renewable power generation facilities across the world to deliver net zero emissions power to customers across North America and Europe. So with that, I think what you're probably most interested in is hearing about what are some ways we can cut costs and reduce emissions. So we offer a variety of programs, incentives, and services through Enbridge Gas, and I will pass it over to Mary to give us a little bit more information on those.
Good morning, everyone. Sorry about that, a little bit of a delay. So thank you very much, Biké, and I'll be talking a little bit about some of the programs we have. So the first thing I want to just mention to you, there is a report out that was put out by the Ontario Home Builders Association, and really is talking about what is happening in the population of Niagara. And just to give you an example, so why we need these energy conservation is that over the next 10 years, there's estimating Niagara's populations is going to be growing to 63,856 people. And how they're looking at this is an additional 26,100 homes, and that equates to approximately about 2,500 high-rise apartments, and the remainder will be your low-rise homes. So there's going to be a lot of growth potential in Niagara. So this report, if anybody ever wants to refer to, especially with being a business, is put on by the Smart Prosperity Institute through Ontario Home Builders Association, and it's called Baby Needs a New Home. So with that, I just wanted to also let you know that with Enbridge Gas, we have been in the conservation area since 1995, and from 1995 to 2018, we have saved Ontario residents approximately 28 billion cubic meters of natural gas. So it sounds like a really large number, and it's like, okay, what does this really mean? What it really means, it would equivalent to taking 2.2 million cars off the road for a year, or heating 13.1 million homes. So right now we have programs basically, as you can see here, offered commercial, retail, office, warehouse, multi-res. We target builders and developers for new homes. We target restaurant and food services, manufacturing, greenhouse, education, as well as your individual homes as well. Next slide, please. So really, what the incentive programs are, they really fall into three buckets. We have one which is prescriptive, and prescriptive really basically means it's more of like a coupon. So if you buy a high efficiency furnace, you get X number of dollars off. The next would be, you could go to the customized, and where we would have an energy advisor come out to your business, take a look, make a walk around, and discuss some of the opportunities where you can save some more energy. And then they can also give you a calculation based on what you're looking at doing, and it kind of gives you an idea as far as the incentives. And then there's also another program we have, which is Run It Right, and that's really making sure you're optimizing your energy costs, so you're doing everything correct. Next slide, please. So this is what I'm talking about as far as the custom audits and studies. And really they'll go through, it's a lot of it to do with, you know, smart controls, making sure that you're prioritizing your energy improvements. And again, the incentives can cover up to 50% of the audit and study cost. Next slide, please. This program here, Savings by Design, this is really targeting new construction. So we have three buckets with this. We have one that falls under affordable housing. The next one we would be residential, and the third one being commercial, which includes multi-res. And also this one here, for the commercial one, it can be new construction, it could be deep energy retrofits, or it could be repurposing. So let's say, for instance, you have an old school and you want to transition this into, you know, condos, that would fit under this as well. We have worked with numerous opportunities in Niagara. Just to kind of give you some ideas, we work with Emilio Raimondo out of Niagara Falls, and through our affordable housing, we have done Gateway Niagara, the Hope Center, the Niagara Regional Housing. And for the residential homes, we worked with some of the larger builders in Niagara, the Mountain View Homes, Silvergate, Carnwood Homes, Creekside Estates, Crystal Beach, and Empire Communities. And for the commercial sector of it, we have worked with the Queen Hotel and Spa in Niagara on the Lake. This one here, which is basically a quote taken from Marcelo, and that is the Niagara Power. That is the one building that they're looking at making it into a museum right along the Niagara Parkway. We worked with Rankin, and we've done condos. One of the largest ones in the Niagara right now is Port Condo in Port Dalhousie, as well as we worked with Port Colborne. And we also did the Brock University Summer Games. So that was a really unique opportunity. And we worked with the district school board and the Niagara Health. So the new hospital that's going up in Niagara Falls, they participate in this program. What they used this program for was to really look at how they can mitigate and future-proof the hospital. And they used it as a platform before they went out to the RFP. So it really was a great opportunity to narrow down the scope of work and to see what they can do as far as energy efficiency. Next slide, please. So before I go, I'll hand it back over. I just wanted to say to you that if there's anything you're doing, whether it's a retrofit, you're building new, or you're simply just thinking about it, please contact us and we can definitely guide you to the right person and help you save money, save energy, and go from there. So I'll let my colleague take it over from here. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Mary, for sharing those programs. As I mentioned before, when it comes to green gas, I also wanted to touch on an exciting project that we have right here in Niagara region. I mentioned that Enbridge had teamed up with Walker Industries and Comcor Environmental to build Ontario's largest renewable natural gas plant in Niagara Falls. So renewable natural gas, in essence, we can put it as we take organic material, we recover it, we digest it, we take the biogas, upgrade it, and add it to our system. But I think what's best is if we can watch a video to see what renewable natural gas is, which I think it really helps get the message across before we get into more of a conversation on it. So we'll start with that.
Ontario is committed to a clean energy future. Enbridge Gas is doing its part with innovative renewable natural gas, or RNG. You may think of wind and solar energy as renewable, but food scraps, farm waste, and sewage can also provide carbon-neutral energy. First, we collect waste into a digester tank. As it breaks down, we capture the methane released. Once the biogas is cleaned and upgraded, it's turned into RNG. It can then be added to the Enbridge gas system to heat homes and businesses, power factories, and fuel transportation, helping Ontario reduce greenhouse gas emissions and manage waste more effectively. RNG is fueling the future in the fight against climate change. Learn more at enbridgegas.com/RNG.
So this slide just builds on the video to explain the process a little bit more. We are expecting the Niagara Falls plant to be operational late next year. And as I mentioned before, the plant will capture landfill gas and generate enough energy to heat 8,700 homes and reduce emissions by about 48,000 tons every year. I now want to pass it off on to Graham Guest at Walker Industries, who we have teamed up with for this $42 million project. Graham, floor is yours.
Thank you very much, and good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us this morning. As Biké mentioned, we're very pleased to be in partnership with Enbridge on this project. As many folks in the area will know, Walker is well known for the landfill, hopefully mostly for the good reasons and not for some of the bad. But one of the great things that comes out of the facility is our ability to recover what a lot of people think are waste products. And of course, the topic of the conversation this morning is how we can create renewable energy from the waste that we do receive and we are stewards of. And so we've been able to develop and utilize some technologies in the last couple of years that'll help us to extract landfill gas from the waste, scrub it, clean it up, and get it injected into the natural gas grid, where local people will be able to consume it. It is molecularly identical to fossil natural gas, but obviously has a much lower carbon footprint. And this just builds on sustainability goals that Walker has, and obviously aligns very well with the ESG initiatives that Enbridge spoke of earlier today. So we're very pleased to partner on the project. The plant will be online and producing renewable gas very early in 2023. It's about a 1 million gigajoule facility annually, which is substantial and will contribute meaningfully to a reduction in the carbon intensity of all the gas that's in the natural gas system that's owned and operated by Enbridge. So a few project highlights there, and once again, great opportunity to partner with our local utility and make a meaningful impact in the environment. Biké, was there
Yeah, thank you, Graham. Definitely a very exciting project. So this is a very high level overview of the ways that we're working to support Niagara and Niagara's economic development and environmental goals. And we are partners in delivering the energy the community wants and needs. And we're very proud and excited to be leading the way to a lower carbon future. And we think it's a great story to share. And we look forward to building on our long relationship with the Chamber and with you, the community's business leaders. So we're happy to take any questions you might have.
Thank you so very much. Actually, my thanks go to all four of you, Mary, Ryan, and Biké and Graham, for actually being with us this morning. I have to say, when I listened to your presentation, and I had read them and seen them beforehand as well, is your commitment to sustainability and that coming through partnerships that you have and develop in the community came through really strong. It was really great to see how many Niagara businesses are already engaged with you, from builders to other industries, manufacturers, and areas of it that are really making a difference. And I think it's good for the business community and for all of us to hear these projects, because it makes all of us then wonder, how can I get involved and where can I make a difference? So I'm really, really pleased about that. We, in advance of us, when we promoted today's webinar, we actually had a couple of questions that have come forward. And I thought maybe this is a good way to start out to get to some of those questions of individuals who weren't able to join us, but at the same time were interested and curious about it. And so I was wondering, maybe we can start out with that. Sometimes businesses have looked in the past at provincial or federal grants that might help them to invest in energy saving measures. And we have seen over the years that the governments have actually offered some grants and such at a provincial level, at a federal level. Is there anything available that for businesses that they could tap into that might be worth exploring? Or if there isn't anything right now, can you direct them somewhere to go and explore that aspect of it? Because sometimes that can be a motivator or a starting point. And I'm not sure, maybe I'll pass it on to Mary.
Sure, thank you. Yeah, thank you so much. So currently right now, the only program I know about through the government is Canada Mortgage and Housing, and that's really targeting more towards affordable housing. Now, that's not to say, I mean, as we're, especially after, COP26, there's going to be a lot of different initiatives happening. So I definitely would suggest to keep an eye on the NRCan website as one. Is an excellent website to watch. And the other thing is with some programs, there may not be some federal or provincial programs, but definitely I would encourage all the businesses to see Enbridge as well as their local hydroelectricity too, because there's always programs available through that. So right now, the feds have a program out for homes. So, the people who own businesses, there's the greener homes that is available, and you can either tap into that, and as well as Enbridge has one too, which is home energy retrofit, and then take the best of both worlds. You can't double dip on the same technology, but you can, pick and choose from the two different programs.
Right, this is really helpful, and we'll make sure that to the participants, and when we are sharing afterwards this webinar, because it is being recorded also through our social channels and our database, that we include some of the resources that you have mentioned as being easy ways and easy links actually for people to connect to at the same time. One of the things that we have found out during we've always known, but the pandemic, I think, was heightened our awareness that so many people and so many businesses actually don't own their own premises. And hence, a lot of people applied for rent subsidies during these last 22 months in an effort to actually stay afloat. So there have been questions coming forward from businesses that don't own their own premises and saying, what can they do? And what is their contribution to actually saving energy?
Sure, not a problem. A lot of cases, a lot of the programs are based on who pays the actual utility bill. Mm-hmm. So even though you're not maybe the landlord, you can still take advantage of a lot of the programs. I would suggest, especially with the small business, to get in contact with us to do a walkthrough, and they can make a lot of recommendations, because a lot of times, we can get a little overwhelmed with, what does energy efficiency mean? What can I do to reduce it? And sometimes it's just small little things that can be suggested, which is very little cost, can give you a huge return in the end.
Yeah, that makes sense. Mary, can I ask you on this note too? We are seeing more and more people, workforces that are looking at a hybrid model where we now have our home offices and others. And so we're kind of bridging that line between what is my personal space, my home space, and what is my workspace there. Is there a way that Enbridge is dealing with it, or that you are informing people too that are now have developed or have created these home offices and saying you can make a difference there too? Or is that too small of a market and niche that is there?
I would never say nothing's never too small, right? So definitely, if people are looking at changing their homes and they want to see, the home energy retrofit is a perfect way to look at it. How you can make your living space, because as you said, a lot of us are working from home, so there's an indoor air comfort. There's, you want to make sure that you're comfortable while working. So definitely contact us and look at the home energy retrofit and see what is available or what you have an appetite to do.
Okay, that sounds good. Then there's one question that had come in from Cindy, and she references and saying we often have conversations of the future of energy. And they specifically are asking, when we often hear by less gas, no gas, what does the future of it look like? When we hear it as the outsider, not being on the pulse as much as you are, I think often as an audience, as businesses and as individuals, we're wondering about what does the future of energy look like? And I know you touched on it in part of your presentation already, but I was wondering if you can take a couple of minutes to lead our participants through that.
Sure, I could answer a little bit, and maybe BK if you want to jump in, or Ryan. So really, what's happening is, as you know, we're all looking at how we can do energy efficiency. That's a low-hanging fruit. First of all, is use energy, but use it wisely. And I can also say there's no silver bullet. There's it's really going to be all about balancing fuels moving forward into the future. I know there's a lot of talk about electrification, for instance, but there's a lot of downside on that, and that is, your brownouts in the summer, your blackouts in the winter. So really, it's all going to take all the energy working together and what makes sense at that given time. So, I always use the phrase, use the best energy at the right time, or, and it really is going to take, where you can, like BK was talking about, when we were talking about more gas and switching from, the oil or the coal, it's not that many coal, but there is oil and wood. That makes sense, and same with your transportation, moving from diesel to natural gas, but it really is going to be all of us working together to move forward. Enbridge, as we talked about, we're getting a lot more into renewables. Just to let you know too, we have right now a geothermal program that's being offered, as well as a solar program. So it's really early in the stages, but we've got the hydrogen, the solar, the geo, the wind. So we're really expanding our portfolio and becoming more of an energy company. BK, did you want to add anything to that, or?
Sure, I think you covered it really well, Mary. And just going back to what I was saying before too, with those 4 pillars, Mishka. So the less gas is more exactly what Mary explained. It's about how can we be more efficient? How can we reduce consumption as best as possible? When we talk about more gas, we're talking about cleaner gas. So how do we replace energy systems that are emitting more carbon to natural gas? And transportation is a big component of that. And at the same time, actually, sorry, if I go back to less gas, we're also looking at other technologies like hybrid heating, where we would have dual sources of energy. And you can really, the customers the end users can really optimize based on either efficiency or cost, because that's the other aspect of it. What we're hearing is that people want clean gas. We need to get to, clean energy. We need to get to clean energy, but also affordability and reliability is very important. So we are, as Enbridge Gas, going into looking at how we invest in those opportunities and how we broaden our spectrum of offerings and looking at different opportunities. You may have heard in London, Ontario, we have a pilot right now going on, and we're looking at how we can expand that. And a big part of it also is, as Mary mentioned, we want to have offerings that we can come to municipalities or customers with to say, here's what we can offer and here's what your goals are. So how do we work with you in achieving those goals through what we can offer? The other thing I want to mention is, as we go to that low carbon future, so we have the existing infrastructure to be able to do great things. If we were looking at electrifying everything, we're looking at a $30 billion investment to be able to create that infrastructure for electricity distribution. And then there's also the considerations about peak demand and how do we handle peak demand. So that's why what we're saying is it's about a combination of energy sources. We really have to work through all alternatives and look at all combinations. Of course, for us, we have the regulated framework that we have to operate within. But there's been some big wins there as well, especially in the area of renewable natural gas that has allowed us to make these investments. And our opt-up program is another good example too. Mary, maybe if you can speak to that a little bit, where we're also providing that flexibility to customers to be able to pay to contribute towards having renewable natural gas.
It's very interesting. Mary, you were going to come into.
Yeah, I was just to say it's a program called Opt-in, and you pay $2 more a month. And I know myself, at my personal home, I opt in, and I just figure we're doing something, it's very little because they only put a little bit of RNG into the gas line, but it's a start in the right direction. And to me, I think that's really important. And looking at and again, just to go back to look at conservation first before you increase your energy use. And I think that's a real critical thing that we all have to look at, how we're using energy and look at ways where we can reduce it as well.
Yeah, it's an excellent point. Graham, can I bring you into the dialogue? Because I'm looking at, having worked with Walker for so many years through the chamber and in promoting and supporting it, and you have been such a leader in your industry here in Niagara and a key stakeholder for Niagara. When you look down the road, you're listening to the conversation, you have made the commitment, there's a timeline to the commitment. When you look down the road and you're saying, this is what I think it looks like in 10 years from now, can you give us a sense of it, or saying like we are developing more and more, we're heading into this direction, and this is what customers are asking for, this is what our partners in the industries are asking for, and these are the right choices that we're making?
Yeah, certainly. I would say that from a customer-facing perspective, the message is growing louder that people are expecting the providers of their products, whatever that is, if it's an energy product or an automobile or whatever you're consuming, people are expecting that those products will be produced with a lower carbon intensity. And it sounds like a really technical term, but it's actually not. I mean, it's pretty straightforward. The last 15 years the conversation has been about reducing the impacts to the planet. And decarbonization is one of the most achievable ways to do that. And so from Walker's perspective, we are always looking for opportunities to decarbonize everything that we do. Just like Enbridge, we have net zero carbon goals coming up by 2040. I think we've announced that recently, that we want to have a zero carbon footprint. So we are mapping our carbon footprint, we are monitoring our carbon footprint, and we are taking responsibility for our carbon emissions. consumers want that more and more, and we want to be able to not just stand behind the words that we use by saying this is a goal we want to achieve. We actually want to do something that's impactful, that we can measure, that's going to make a difference and make consumers, understand that these goals are achievable. We do need to work together. It does require, investment in time and resources to get there, but it is very achievable, and we're standing behind it with commitments like the one we're making with Enbridge here in Niagara.
Yeah, actually, it's an excellent point that you're making. We recently held our Niagara Economic Summit, and there came very clearly the point across is that often or sometimes businesses are being seen when it comes to sustainability and climate change, not as being as supportive of it. They're often, but they actually want to be. They want to be part of the sustainability movement. They want to be part of the solutions. They're looking for options of getting engaged. So it's excellent that we're having conversations like we're having right now. So I really, really appreciate it. There are a few more questions that have come in, and one of them has to do, and it's related to the Grimsby Lincoln project. And does the Grimsby Lincoln project support future residential connections as well? So that was the question that has come forward. And I'm not sure who can touch on that part of it, but I'm not sure if Ryan or Mary, or Biké, anyone who can touch on it that maybe could answer that question. Biké?
Yeah, so maybe I'll start off. So this project was approved through the Ontario government's natural gas expansion program, where we looked at economic development projects to serve large volume business customers in the area. And there was an expression of interest done to see which businesses would be interested. And then typically projects that through feasibility would not be feasible would now, through this funding allocation, would be approved to go ahead. So it was designed to accommodate large volume growth identified through this process, as well as small volume regular rate growth served from the same pipeline. So I think it will come down to when we'll be able to put these pipelines in service, and then see what other growth is expected on that same pipeline system. But we are also looking at getting more interest, because since the expression of interest was completed, of course, there's been changes to the requirements for the business or interested businesses. So it's definitely a project that we're promoting, and we're looking to see who else out there would be interested and trying to raise awareness. And if there's folks out there that would be interested to hear more about that, we can put them in touch with the right project teams within the company as well.
That's great. Do you have a time frame for it, or when you're looking at it and saying like this is kind of our timeline when it comes to it?
Yeah, we are looking at the project requires a leave to construct application, which gets submitted to the Ontario Energy Board. So that process and the application is planned to go ahead next year. And then the actual execution timeline follows that. Ryan, I'm not sure if you had more information on that, if you can share at this time. But I know with all of our expansion projects, there's been changing timelines and adjustments.
Yeah, Biké, definitely. I think it's the timelines are going to depend a little bit on the scope, a little bit on the approval process with the OEB, but certainly completion prior to 2025 would be the goal.
Yeah, and I think it's always of interest to people in the community is to understanding and when this can move forward. There's another question that has come in, and is there a certification process or an award recognition that energy conscious businesses can use to promote their efficiencies or their commitments to environmentally minded procedures and practices to customers, so that the customers can make the choice, but businesses at the same time would like to promote it too. And Mary, I see that you've unmuted, so I'll pass it over to you.
Yeah, there is some programs out, like I know that TAF, which is Toronto Atmospheric Fund, it actually expanded now into Hamilton, and it's heading down towards the Niagara region. So that's one I would, keep an eye on. The other one would be Energy Star for MERBs, which is multi-res family units for businesses. that you can get an award for, but an actual business per se, no, it would be primarily something if you went through like Ontario Sustainable Energy Association, which is OSEA, something on that nature. They hand out awards, but there's nothing really like as far as the feds or the provincial that makes the awards. But definitely for any businesses that are going through this, I would definitely use that as a talking point for whether you're attracting customers or attracting people to live in your multi-res units. I would definitely use that as a highlight.
That's very good. In the past, we've often looked at rebates and incentives. And do you think that changes to rebates and incentives and so forth in the future might change the cost-benefit analysis on energy-reducing retrofits? Is there an opportunity there?
I think that like the incentives are really, really good. And a lot of times how the incentives work are on a tier system. So the more you do, the more money you get. But I'm not, I think the biggest hurdle we have in Enbridge is awareness of the programs. I don't think it's actually taking them. I think it's more of awareness. And, it's funny when I talk to electrical, they have the same situation. So, I really want to stress that for any of these, please visit both utilities to see what's available. And I think with the deep energy retrofits, this is definitely a key focus on a lot of municipalities because they recognize that this is a huge opportunity to reduce their GHG reductions. So I think as it becomes more mainstream, technology and products will become a little bit more affordable. So we're still really in our early stages, but again, as it becomes more prevalent, and Walker had said about getting net zero to 2040, the Ontario government, or actually Canada government, is net zero for 2050.
Okay, that's a commitment. So thank you for that. There's one more question that has come in, and then I'm going to pass the mic back to each one of you for just some final comments. But the question has come back, and we hear this from quite a few of our members and other in businesses. What can businesses that must work to a fixed schedule? So this is their schedule. They can't change. They don't have flexibility in their schedule due to reduce energy costs associated with peak usage. And that's sometimes something that businesses want to work around, but it's challenging sometimes. Are there any options that are available to them? And I'm wondering, Mary, if you want to take it.
Okay, I would say smart controls are one thing that you can do. That can, a lot of, programmable thermostats, different operational smart controls, I would say, because I mean, you're right, you're dealing with a restaurant, you can't tell your patrons to come in this time to eat. You've got to open up. So I definitely would look at smart controls. I'd look at again, getting one of us in to take a look, we'll do a walk around and just make some recommendations on what you can do to make it more energy efficient.
Yeah, thank you so very much. And I'm always surprised when we put on these webinars how quickly actually an hour goes by. But what I normally do at the end of it, or two at the end of it, because we have a few minutes left, but I love to give back the mic to each one of you, because often you have had thoughts during the dialogue that has taken place that you would like to share. So I thought maybe for closing comments, if I can each, if you want to take up to a minute before we wrap it up. And I'm trying to think. We started out with Biké, so maybe no, and then Ryan, I'm not sure. I'm going to go with what you look like, the order on my screen. How about that? No other logic to it. So I'm going to start with Ryan. You're on my left here.
Yeah, thanks very much. And just I want to say thanks to the group for giving us the opportunity to speak today. Certainly a lot of interesting and exciting things going on in the energy industry. And with Enbridge, we're very excited to be involved in many of these different projects and opportunities, and looking forward to support the local Niagara business community in whatever way possible. So thanks very much.
Yeah, thank you very much for being with us too. And Mary, over to you. Anything in? Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, I just want to echo Ryan's. So thank you very much. Just to let you know, actually, I was raised in Niagara region. So it's always funny because, working out of the head office in Toronto, a lot of times things focus around Toronto, and it's always so nice to be able to reach out to Niagara, and this is why we have so many great businesses that have participated, because we are part of the community and we understand what the needs are and what some of the challenges are. And I think it's really important that if anyone does have anything that they wanted to discuss with us, anyone at Enbridge, we're here to assist and help and direct you to the right way. So
yeah, thank you so very much, Mary, for being with us. And I do actually believe, and I have that sense that people in Niagara have the sense that Enbridge is part of the Niagara community too, and not just on the broader sense of it. So I think you've been very successful as an organization to really connect with many organizations to make a difference. And Mary, I remember in your presentation, the list of businesses that you pointed out to that you already are engaged with in organizations that you're working with. I mean, it's compliments to you for that. And Biké, you're next on my screen.
Thank you, Mishka. And again, we're very excited to have had this opportunity to talk to this group and share what we've been doing on the energy front, on how Enbridge is looking to be a part of the future. We're happy to be part of the community, happy to be in the region. We have, as Ryan said, over 170 years of history with the amalgamated company, and hopefully looking forward to another 170, and looking forward to how we can do bigger and better things in the community with more partnerships and working closely with businesses. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Biké. And when you said the many years that you have been part of this community, made me think of what probably the world will look like if we imagine that for the next 100 and some years from here. And Graham, over to you.
Yeah, thanks, Mishka, and thanks to the GNCC for putting this on, for hosting it. These are very, very valuable events that the local folks get to participate in. And thank you very much to Enbridge for asking us to participate today. And I think what I might want to leave you with is maybe back to that question about how can people reduce their energy, and maybe less about how you chase peaks and a little bit more about how you be energy conscious as you go through the day-to-day planning stages of the businesses. And I would just offer to anybody that's listening, please reach out. Feel free to reach out to me or someone else that you might know at Walker. We would be happy to talk more about some of the initiatives that we've been able to kind of develop and implement that have helped us manage our energy. Obviously, there are tremendous programs available through Enbridge and the local electrical LDCs that can also assist. But as not quite 170, I think we're about 130 years involved in this community. Be happy to share what we've learned to move the needle for everyone on this.
Yeah. Thank you so very much. And I'm also, on behalf of our chamber, I want to offer to you as well is that if you have any resources that you think are helpful to the business community, we have a very interactive website and a strong database. We are very more than committed to sharing some of those resources on a regular basis, and as changes taking place with our audience at the same time. We're all committed, I think, to a common goal, and I think that is what is paramount here. So thank you, Biké, Ryan, Mary, and Graham, for being with us today. Really appreciate it. And to our participants, thank you for tuning in with us. This session has been recorded and will be available on our website at gncc.ca, and it will also be emailed to all of you at the same time, in addition to being distributed to our database. So thank you very much, and I wish each and every one of you a wonderful day.